Okay. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you and good morning and welcome to Grand Rounds. We'll start with our land acknowledgement. Ottawa is built in unceded Anishinaabe territory, and the peoples of the Anishinaabe Nation have lived on this territory for millennia, and we honor them and this land. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. CHEO also honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. On CHEOnet, you will see we're hosting a number of activities in preparation for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Whether at the bedside with an individual patient or family, chairing a meeting or attending an event, I'd invite you to participate meaningfully in truth and reconciliation, however you can. It gives me great honor and pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dr. JoAnn Harrold. Dr. JoAnn Harrold is a neonatologist and associate professor in the Department of Pediatrics at the University of Ottawa. She's held many leadership positions in her division and is currently the executive vice chair and vice chair finance in the department. She is also the newborn lead for the Champlain Maternal Newborn Regional Program. Now, we all know JoAnn as an astute clinician and leader in maternal and newborn health, and we've heard her present many times in her vice chair role. She's well recognized for ninja-like skills with a spreadsheet. But do we really know JoAnn? JoAnn is here to talk to you today about something entirely different. She personally experienced the benefit of coaching, decided to pursue training to become a coach herself. She received tuition support through the Department of Pediatrics Academic Development Fund, is currently completing her training. I'd like to start with showing you some archival footage of some of her early training experiences. Slide advance not working. Yeah. There we go. Thank you. Here we see Dr. Harrold's early interest in a completely different age demographic that she currently serves, practicing with some rudimentary tools made by the well-known manufacturer Fisher-Price, but with her typical enthusiasm and joy in work that she will bring to today's presentation. JoAnn.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And for those of you who braved the rain and came in person, it's great to have a few smiling faces here. So good morning, and I am really pleased to be able to speak with you today about coaching. And the title of my presentation is both kind of purposefully, maybe a little bit provocative, and also somewhat reflective of my changing thoughts over time with respect to coaching. So if you currently tip it down, I'm shorter than Toby. We will get me in frame. It's okay. I got the thumbs up. Okay. So if you currently resonate with the fad or scam ideas in the title of my slide, or if you really have no idea at all what coaching is, then I hope that this talk will give you at least something to think about. And maybe some of you will come like me to see this as a valuable resource. And I am very appreciative to the Department of Pediatrics for the funding support for my training. So the objectives of my talk today are to help you to understand the difference between different kinds of, I may call them professionals, they're not professional in the sort of regulated sense, but practitioners of people involved in peer support, mentorship, coaching, consulting, therapy, and what the role of each of those is. We'll go over some of the evidence for coaching broadly and specifically for physicians, introduce you to some of the tools and principles of coaching and a little bit about how they may benefit physicians, and also let you know what resources are available at CHEO and specifically some upcoming offerings related to coaching. I have no conflicts of interest to declare, and my disclosure is this is my first foray into PowerPoint with Designer, and so all wonky coloring and formatting are my fault. Lori is usually involved in my slides for the other presentations and is far better at this. So word coach is used in a lot of different contexts, and even within a context to mean different things. So before I explain exactly what a coach is, let's talk about some of what those other practitioners who are involved in the wellness space and career support do. So peer support, this is kind of, it's peer-to-peer, so it's individuals who have a commonality. The commonality may be profession, or it may be role or area of work. And they provide encouragement and support from someone who's like been there, done that, knows what you're going through. It might be practical, it might be emotional advice or support. Mentorship tends to be a professional development relationship where you've got the pairing of a more experienced and knowledgeable or a more connected individual with someone who's more junior in the area. They don't necessarily have to be like younger, but just newer to whatever it is that they're doing. And the mentor uses their experience to offer advice and assist in the advancement of the mentee. Through CHEO, the Research Institute, and the University of Ottawa, as well as the department, there are many peer support and mentorship programs available to you that cover different areas of career leadership, research mentorship, and also peer support and wellness. This slide has a lot of information, thank you, Toby, relating to the different programs that are available, and there are links on the slide for you to be able to get more information. For those of you online, we're going to put the link to where the slide is in the chat. So if we think about therapy, therapy is a treatment modality. It's for emotional distress, mental health conditions, and is generally involving licensed practitioners who have quite a lot of extensive training. And those individuals help heal people who actually who are not well, are not functioning up to their sort of normal standard, and return them to function. Therapy is often focused on things that happened in the past and helping people to heal from those things. Consultants are experts in content or process, and that's something all of us as physician consultants are really familiar with. Organizations and individuals hire consultants to help assist them in doing something in particular, and they are contracted because of their expertise, and we're looking for them to provide solutions, provide advice, and help us. What's a coach? So, as I said, lots of different contexts, lots of different ways we can think of it. I guarantee I am not training to become a soccer coach or any kind of coach who has a whistle. Some days I wouldn't mind a whistle though. Just going to say, not in my coaching area, but in other areas of my life could be useful. So coaching involves inquiry, encouragement, accountability, and is focused on improving self-awareness and motivation, and providing people with helping people find their capacity to take effective action. It's a partnership between the coach and the client in this case is recognized as the expert. It's not the coach who's the expert. Every person has the answers within themselves, and the coach helps them find those answers through a thought-provoking and creative process. The coach has no agenda. They follow the client's agenda all the time and has no judgment. There's no right or wrong. It's what the client knows of themselves. They help people who are well and people who are good to get to great. For those of you who know me well, and even for those of you who don't and heard that I'm a neonatologist, I'm sure you can kind of appreciate when I tell you like what coaching is. You're kind of thinking, okay, this is a pretty big transition. I am not known for my joy and passion about things that are abstract. I am known for liking structure and routine and to-do lists. And I kind of have some things that are over here in the woo category. And some of you might be kind of going, this might be in that category. So how did this happen? Transition from like neonatologist, expert, type A personality, black and white thinking, opinions and advice and orders. That's what you come to me for. 100% logic all in my head. Not all neonatologists, but definitely this one. And then a coach, where the client is the expert. I had to look up whether there even is a type B personality. There is. Never resonated with that. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. There's no judgment or opinion. And it's a feelings, mind-body connection kind of profession. So how did that happen, right? This is not a small transition. So here's a little bit about my story, because admittedly, I went from skeptic and I'm now all the way at, obviously, convert as I'm seeking to actually become a coach. So just a little bit about my story. I honestly tried coaching out of desperation. There was something going on in my life that I had tried all kinds of other things to improve, and it wasn't working. And I got to the point where it was like, okay, fine. It's outside my box, whatever, let's try this. And I was not the ideal client at the start. The skeptic who isn't all bought in and ready to do this work is not going to be comfortable right at the beginning. I was all in my head. I didn't know this whole mind-body coordination thing. And what I really learned, one of the key things was the thought cycle. And I'm going to show you that a little bit later. And I became aware of all of the stories that I was telling myself and how those stories affected my life. This was not an easy thing to do. And it affected my life in not just, the thing that I went to get help for, but in all aspects. And so I can honestly say, the experience of my life has changed. My relationship with my colleagues, my friends, my family, myself has changed in going through coaching. So it's a journey. I'm not perfect. Nobody ever is. There is still bad in life, but I'm now much more able to see the opportunity in things. I'm much more able to appreciate the detours and not feel like I need to get there, wherever there is, right? I need to get that promotion. I need to get that published. I need to have this much money. I need to whatever in order to feel good or proud or successful. I've changed the way I think about those kinds of things and can enjoy the journey and can enjoy the detours. Not every day, but I get back there sooner. So clearly I found it to be valuable and got more out of it than I ever anticipated when I started. And so I'm hoping to share a little bit with you and see whether I can convert you into at least curious. But first, let's deal with the whole, is it a fad or scam problem? So reasons one might think it's a fad is just looking kind of at the numbers. This is something like, I don't know, when I was training, there was no such thing as a coach. You never heard of it. In 2011, there were 47,500 coaches worldwide, with about a third of them in North America. And in 2022, there were closer to 110,000. So more than doubled. And again, a third in North America. It's also big money. In 2011, this was a nearly $2 billion US revenue business, with the average coach making just under 48,000 US dollars. And it's expanded in 2022 to over $4.5 billion US dollars per year. And the average income over 50,000 US dollars. So it's fast growing in numbers and in revenue. Big unregulated business, as I said, 50,000 odd US dollars. And that's for working with an average of 12 clients a year, 12 hours a week, 244 US dollars an hour. I can see I can't see most of you online, but I can see some eyes in the building going, wait, what? Like yeah, exactly, sign me up. The hourly rate is better than we can do seeing patients with all of the years of experience we have, which we will all have thoughts about. Let's park those for a minute. But it is why people might say like, okay, wait, you have no opinion, you have no expertise, what do you do? And you make that kind of money? Scam, I'm feeling scam, right? So yes, there are people who are not in this for the right reason, and there are problems. And there are people who are genuinely helping people and changing lives. So how does one become a coach? Anyone can call themselves a coach. And that's part of that problem with there are people out there who are not doing this right. There is an International Coaching Federation, which is essentially the gold standard accreditation body for programs. And it's like and not like the Royal College. They accredit the program and an individual can be certified by them. So if somebody trained in an accredited program, that's one thing. And then they would have to take like individual exams in order to have their own certification. The training programs vary widely from you can get certified in a weekend or less to more than 400 hours of training being involved. If the program is ICF accredited, then that at least guarantees a minimum number of hours and a minimum standard that the program is being held to. But I will say there are some really good and reputable schools that are not ICF accredited as well. Individual programs offer their own certifications, which are largely not regulated. So there's alphabet soup that comes out of different programs. 85% of coaches surveyed said that they did hold a certification or credential from a coaching program. And this came from the 2022 ICF coaching survey. And the majority also thought that coaching should be more regulated. Like those who are in it for the right reasons would welcome it being tighter controlled. So caution is absolutely warranted. The things to be wary of is people who don't have appropriate training, people who are like guaranteeing results, come to me, I can do this for you. who are going outside their scope and limitations of practice and delving into like therapy, particularly high pressure sales tactics and preying on the vulnerable. I watched a CBC Marketplace episode. It was terrifying. It was on coaching. They followed, they did hidden cameras on 3 journalists who made appointments as clients with 3 different coaches. And they filmed those sessions and showed the sales tactics, which were incredible, like demanding, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, sign up now, 5 minutes, you're going to lose the opportunity to work with me. There was somebody who said that they were thinking of self-harm. They didn't know whether they should be alive anymore. And the coach just kept going in different directions. Like, these are horrible things that no reputable coach would do. So that was terrifying. They also showed how easy it can be to get certified. They had one of these journalists who was wearing a camera and shopping. It looked like she was in like Winners. She was throwing all these clothes, and Martha would have loved it, throwing all these clothes in her basket. And she was on her phone doing a multiple choice test to get certified. And the first time it was 65 questions, she got 50-something%. She did it again immediately and got over the 70% you need and got a certificate saying, you're a certified coach. It took her an hour while shopping. I was like, oh my God. So choose wisely. How can one choose wisely? First thing, figure out whether a coach is what you really need. Do you really need a coach? Are you really looking for a mentor or a consultant, etc.? Ask them about their training and their credentials. Most will offer an introductory session so that you can assess comfort and fit. Look at their contract. Is it flexible? Are they trying to force you into something? Do they offer a refund? And then just make sure you're going into it with reasonable expectations, yours and theirs. You're there to do the work, to change and to participate. And that's where the results will come from. So the program I chose after looking at several is called IPEC. It doesn't stand for anything anymore. It's an ICF accredited level 2 program. That's their highest level of accreditation. There's 200 hours of ICF accredited training and over 300 hours total training, which consists of live modules, live webinars, recorded webinars, peer and group practical, written assignments, evaluations, and an exam. And then we have a choice of 4 finishing streams, and we'll ultimately get 3 certifications from this program. I did not choose the 1-hour route. So there are lots of credentials that vary by program. Just don't be afraid to ask. Look on their website, find out where they trained, see what you can figure out. Just here's a little picture of my 2002 to 2024 alphabet soup and what it will be after I graduate from this program. That's a lot of letters. We won't be using them all, but I just thought it was kind of cute. Okay, I promised you some evidence. This is Grand Rounds after all. So I'm not going to read this list, but these and other similar outcomes are frequently listed in the introduction to studies and on different websites. There's a ton of heterogeneity in the level of quality of the research that's done. And I've inserted the sort of claimed to be because I'm not going to go into the evidence on each of these, but it's repetitive that these are the things that are touted. And I'm going to show you some studies that were done specifically on physicians and what they found. So in this first one, Duke University launched a physician wellbeing coaching program in 2012 in their Department of Family Medicine. They describe it as offering physicians a partnership for identifying and motivating and supporting change that they want to make to improve balance, meaning, and resilience in their work lives. They identified participants through talks that were given on burnout and wellness. And the coaches were actually a couple of pediatricians and a clinical psychologist, and they trained in this Duke in-house program that they don't provide details about. There were 25 physicians who completed 3 to 8 sessions, and then 11 of them agreed to be in the study with 14 citing time constraints. They did semi-structured qualitative interviews, which demonstrated increased skills and awareness in boundary setting and prioritization, self-compassion, self-care, and self-awareness. This study was done at 5 sites of the Mayo Clinic in the United States. There were 764 eligible physicians, and they enrolled whoever put their hand up first, basically, until they got to their number. So there were 88 physicians, 48 women, 40 men. They had 5 to 30 years of experience in practice, and they were randomized with some stratification that's shown on the screen. The coaching group had 6 sessions totaling 3.5 hours within a 5-month period. The the control group, and this is how most of them were done. The control group had nothing during that 5-month period. And then after the study period was over, they had access to the same. So they weren't denied, but they needed to separate the timing on the groups. The coaches came from Blue Point Leadership Development, whose website I looked at, and it details bios for everybody and kind of where they trained and what they're trained in, but there wasn't any easily found commonality. They did baseline and 5-month surveys and showed that emotional exhaustion and burnout both improved in the coaching group and got worse in the control group, and quality of life and resilience improved statistically more in the coaching group than in the control. The study was done on female resident trainees. Any program was eligible. It was done in the University of Colorado, and there were a total of 305 female residents who would have been eligible. They were invited by email, and they were shocked. They wanted 20 people, and they got 101. So a third of all of the eligible. Get tech problem? It's okay. Okay. We'll ignore the dings. So about a third of all eligible residents volunteered, and they actually included them all. So they randomized and stratified them as shown. And they did this Better Together 6-month program that was web-based and included group coaching with up to 5 people at a time, as well as recorded sessions. They could write in and ask for coaching, and there were weekly self-study modules. And the modules looked at things like goal setting, growth mindset, receiving critical feedback, imposter syndrome, and perfectionism. The control group again got the same program after the 6 months. These coaches were trained at the Life Coach School, which is one of those schools that I said is not ICF accredited, but is really well known. And actually the coaches that I was involved with when I was a client all trained at the Life Coach School. In this study, they found emotional exhaustion decreased with the intervention and got worse in the controls. And the intervention group also reduced their imposter syndrome and improved self-compassion compared to the controls. Mayo Clinic's into this. They did another study looking at surgeons this time. They enrolled 80 surgeons and randomized them to coaching or control. Same idea, 6 sessions over 6 months. The Blue Point leadership coaches again. In this study, they tell us that the coaches all had 15 to 25 years of training, and specifically 15 to 25 years of coaching experience, and 7 to 15 years of coaching physicians experience. The participants had 6 sessions, 6 months, 3.5 hours, same idea. They used several validated tools in their baseline 6 and 12-month surveys, and they found at 6 months there was a reduction in burnout in the intervention group and increased burnout in the controls, but this effect did not persist through 12 months. Resilience was improved in the intervention group and continued to improve. So the immediate coaching group was tested at 6 months and had more resilience, and when they were tested again at 12 months, which was the end of the delayed coaching group, their resilience had continued to improve, but their burnout had kind of come back again, whereas the delayed group was now showing an improvement in burnout. Study of primary care physicians who had under 25 years of experience in the United States was, they called it randomized, but it was kind of, we know quasi-randomized was a coin flip. And then the coaches were assigned on an alternating basis. 6 sessions, 3.5 hours, 3 months. They did surveys 3 and 6 months before, immediately after, 3 and 6 months after the intervention, and many validated tools were used in this one. The coaches had different backgrounds and different training, but all had 11 to 25 years of experience, all had coaching, healthcare practitioner experience, and held postgraduate degrees. In this one, it's the only one where they said they had a standardized protocol. The coaches all got together and decided, this is going to be our approach, and these are going to be the standardized coaching tools that we will use. So there was some, similarity in the approach in this particular one. What they found was that coaching improved burnout, work engagement, psychological capital, and job satisfaction. And in this case, those positive changes were all sustained at the 6-month follow-up. So the quality of evidence is variable, but it's pretty consistent that they are finding benefit. Some are finding it persists, some not so much, but similar, I would say, similar findings that suggest that there is benefit to coaching in physicians. So if there is benefit, if a coach doesn't give advice, they don't have an agenda, they don't have an opinion, the answers are in the client, what do they do and how do they do it? So I'm going to tell you a little bit kind of in general, and then we'll dive deeper into a couple of tools. So the general tools and approach is basically asking empowering questions. And that's like open-ended questions that are not leading and are designed to kind of help people really get to the, why and who are they and what's going on. They listen intuitively. That means they listen for what's being said. They listen for what's not being said. And they try and put things together to then, ask the next question to help the individual put it together. However, and that like this was so challenging, right? Don't have an opinion. So you'll hear somebody say, oh, I'm going to go into this meeting and I'm going to do this. This is going to be my approach. And I'll be like, oh, don't do that. This is what's going to happen. So at the beginning, I would have an idea of like, okay, I have to get them to see that they have to do this differently. And if I challenged myself to actually ask a truly open-ended, I'm not invested in this outcome, I'm not leading them there question, I was shocked at how often they didn't go where I thought they were going to go. But where they went was like totally also valid. And so if I had interjected anything of my thought, they wouldn't have gotten there. So this is a skill. And a couple of classmates are, I invited them to Grand Rounds. So there's a couple of people who know this and you can see it. We'll be sitting there going, wait, I'm thinking, because we're still like burning smoke to try and think of these questions that aren't leading, but they're powerful. The coach helps the client explore their values, determine what they really want. You say you want this. Is that what you really want? Because sometimes it's a little bit deeper. Figure out what's in their way. That's what you really want. Why don't you have it yet? What's in the way? How do we get it out of your way? They help them set and achieve their goals. And if they want, create a vision for their life or for their career. Coaches challenge and champion their clients. They also participate in allowing the client to identify action steps. The coach never assigns action steps, but the client develops those action steps. And then the coach can participate in accountability if that's what the client wants. So we'll often ask, how will you hold yourself accountable for this? And if they say, well, I want you to check up with me at my next visit, then I will. And otherwise not, because maybe they have a different method that works for them. So that's kind of like the motherhood statement of what they do. The program that I was involved in as a client was really big on exploring your thoughts. And one of the real take-home message is, don't believe everything you think. Mm-hmm. And that there's a lot to that sentence. Thoughts are far more powerful than we imagine. So this is the idea, and I'm going to go through it with you a little bit with an example. I'm going to use myself as an example with this presentation today. So our thoughts are what create our feelings or our emotions. Our feelings or our emotions is what causes us to act or not act in a certain way. And whatever we do or don't do leads to the results that we get in our life. Shakespeare got this right. In Hamlet, he said, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And I'm imagining, I actually see a couple of faces going, like, I think I just lost a few of you. Like, surely there are some bad things in our life, right? Like maybe being on call, maybe a pandemic, a root canal, lawsuits. We can think of some things that we think are bad. So hold that thought for a minute. The concept is simple, but simple isn't always easy, right? So at the beginning of this, one step even before the thoughts that I mentioned are the facts or our circumstances. And the facts or circumstances are things that like everyone everywhere would agree. There's no interpretation. They are neutral. So examples of facts. 1 and 1 is 2. I don't actually know whether it's 21 degrees, but humor me. It's 21 degrees in this room. Today is Wednesday. Okay. Those are facts. Thoughts are the interpretations that our brain adds to those facts. They vary between individuals. Everybody's life story and everybody's values affect what they think. And so this is what you add to the fact. They include descriptive words and potentially judging words. So a fact might be, thankfully this isn't true today, but a fact could be it's -5 Celsius. And someone might think, oh my gosh, that's so much better. It was -20 yesterday. This is great. Or you might think, that is so cold. I live in Florida. That's way too cold. I don't like it, right? The fact is the same. It's -5. The thoughts of those two people, even me, if it's January or if it's like November, are different on that. Or that's a cat. Fact. Somebody might think, Martha and I, cute cat. Somebody else might think, so glad that's not a real cat. I'm allergic. I'm scared of cats. Whatever, right? So very different thoughts around that. What you think is what leads to kind of the emotion. Are we happy about that temperature? Are we upset about that temperature? I'm going to admit, when I started as a client, I was totally disconnected from like, what am I feeling in relation to these things, and struggled to name more than a few. There are a lot of emotions. This is a feelings wheel that has, I did not count, many emotions on there. I would have been hard pressed to like, okay, yes, I do know what all these words are, but if you asked me what are emotions, I'd be like happy, sad, afraid, like angry, right? Like I could come up with the ones in the middle of the circle, and that's about it. And that's okay. But if you look at this, it kind of gets you thinking about like, what are the subtle differences? What does it mean to be content versus peaceful? Are they the same or are they different, right? What does it feel like inside you? When are you those different things? So there are all kinds of feelings and emotions that we can get in touch with. But the key is what you do or don't do is driven by what emotion you're feeling at the time. So I'm going to give you a real world example. Today's Grand Rounds. JoAnn is presenting Grand Rounds on September the 25th. Here's what actually happened. I may not be proud of it. My thought was, what was I thinking when I volunteered for this? What if they truly think it's a fad or a scam? What if people judge me? This is not what I am known for. I seriously got coaching on this. I have to come up with 24 things to be coached on in my program. So I used this. And then, real life example, saw a colleague in the hall who said, you're presenting Grand Rounds on coaching? How did that happen? That's not what you're known for. This is so outside. And I went, okay, good. This is real. But those thoughts caused me to feel anxious, overwhelmed, exposed, vulnerable. And when I felt those things, I procrastinated. I had spreadsheets I could do. I had other things that I could, dig my fingers into, and I procrastinated, which meant I spent my last vacation preparing these rounds for you today. That was my reality. Here is what could have happened. I could have had another true thought. This is a great opportunity to share my experience and introduce my colleagues to what coaching has to offer. And if I had thought that, I might have felt confident, optimistic, curious, put a plan of time in my calendar and actually followed through. I did put time in my calendar. I just didn't follow through. I would have actually followed through and been excited about creating this presentation, which would have led to it being finished on time and me being able to relax on my vacation. So that's just kind of a little real world example of the fact is I'm here and presenting, but what I thought about it and how I let my thoughts affect me led to what my reality was. When we can identify our thoughts, we can choose to change them to ones that serve us better. There are tools like journaling to help people to identify and get in touch with their thoughts. And I'm going to tell you, this is another one. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Because this program, they taught us about thought dumps. And so they literally said, for 5 minutes, sit down and write down everything you're thinking. My first entry might have gone something like this. This is so stupid. What am I supposed to write? What is this for? I can't even. Like on repeat, just keep doing that. So you can figure out how to do this. It gets better and it's useful. These are kind of similar to the things that I, verbally said we might all think are bad. So I'm on call. I'm in the hospital. It's 3 a.m. I made a medical error. My patient died. I have $100,000 in debt. most of you are probably sitting there kind of going, surely you are not going to try and tell me that these are all neutral facts. But they are. It's our thoughts about them that make them not neutral. I'm not going to debate it with you today, but I'm going to tell you later about some further workshops and other things that are going to be on. One of them will be on thoughts, and I would be happy to go into it with you or in the question period, but they actually are neutral. I also was like, it was all physicians in my coaching program, and we were all like, you cannot tell us call this neutral. They did. I seriously was not the model client. Okay, this is another important thing. And the first time I heard it, I bristled. Again, whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. And then my first response was, how can you tell me that I'm choosing this and I don't like this and I don't have any control over it? And I'm sure you can think of something in your life that you're not thrilled about and you would think you're not choosing it. Choice is powerful. Realizing that you do always have choice is power. You can either live at the effect of others or by your choice. For example, you don't want to get up and go to work in the morning. You may think you don't have a choice, but you do. You could decide not to go to work. You might lose your job. You might get in trouble, but it's still a choice. You feel too busy running around taking your kids to all their extracurricular activities. Do you have to, or do you choose to? Right? So again, it's a language thing. It's an optic thing. And my coach, I'm going to clean this one up, but my coach admitted that sometimes the choice is, what flavor of poop sandwich would you like? The choices are not always palatable. They are not always easy, but there is always a choice. And if you feel like you have no choice, that feeling can lead to being overwhelmed or powerless, out of control, maybe even resentful. And if you recognize you have choice, the circumstance didn't change, but how you're thinking about it did. And even if the choices are difficult, that feeling of having choice causes you to feel powerful, in control, committed, or just accepting. But you've moved from resentful to accepting. That's a big shift. This is one example where language really matters. I have to, I need to, I should. Those are all powerless feeling. I'm at the effect of somebody else. They're draining. If you change it to I get to, I want to, or even I will, those recognize that you have choice. They are empowering words. They are energizing. Our brain listens to our words. So even if you're not saying it out loud, if the story that's going around in your head is I have to do this, I have to do that, I should do this, whatever, you will feel differently than if the message that your brain is spinning around is I get to, I want to, I will. So the next few slides are kind of teasers of some more things that coaches will explore in order to make sure that shift happens. Like this one. Okay. We're not going to read all the details on this. This is an IPAC specific thing on the 7 levels of energy. It started off in my woo category. There's still some of it that's in that category. And there's also some of it that is really relatable. So if you start in the middle, the lower levels of energy, this is where people feel like a victim. They're apathetic, they're lethargic, right? And so it's just the like, I am so beaten down, I can't even, I don't do. The next level up is conflict, anger, aggression, defiance, right? So none of these levels are good or bad. They feel good or bad. So those 2 levels feel bad. But they have a purpose. Like sometimes it's right to feel grief or to feel anger. And sometimes you get a lot done because you're fired up on it. And that's potentially the right emotion at the time. The key is, did you choose it? Are you responding in a way that you want to? Or are you responding in a way that doesn't serve you? And the more that you can be aware of these kinds of levels of energy and understand how you're showing up, the more opportunity you have to decide that you want to do something different or to validate the heck yeah, that's exactly how I wanted to show up. One of the alphabet soupies is learning to do an assessment, like we're all familiar with Myers-Briggs. So that's like a personality assessment. There's an attitudes assessment that helps you figure out where do you resonate on this energy spectrum every day and under stress. And then you can kind of unpack that with a coach and learn what it means about how you tend to show up, and you can shift your profile over time. So those kind of feel bad levels progress out to things like responsibility, forgiveness, compassion, opportunity, peace, joy. So they elevate through things that we can probably all resonate with. And then you get to the outer one, which is where I kind of get lost. Still, I'm working on it. It's that whole, wherever the butterfly beats its wings, it affects the tsunami across the world. We are all one. There is no such thing as grand rounds. It's the total synergy, absolute passion level. I'm working on understanding that one. But it's really like interesting, whether you resonate with the word energy or whether you think of it as just like, what's my lens? How do I show up? It is helpful to understand, where's my go-to? What happens when something bad happens? Where do I retreat to? And how does that help me? What do I want to do that's different? These little guys were the pictures that I chose in one of my homework assignments for my course, where we were assigned to have a depiction of our gremlin. So I picked these little guys. Gremlins, though, they're the messages. We all have them. They're in our head. It's the, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not pretty enough. I don't have enough money. I'm not strong enough. I'm not fill in the blank enough, right? Everybody's message is different, but there's probably one in there that comes up whenever you're trying to do something that's outside your comfort zone. Those messages can be identified. And that's one of the things coaches work on, is helping you identify what's my gremlin. And then you can change it. You can hear the gremlin and disempower him, okay? Make them look cuter and helpful, as opposed to these menacing looking or sad looking guys. Another thing is assumptions. That's what happened last time. So I expect it's going to happen again. I submitted that grant and it got denied. It's going to happen again. I didn't get that promotion. It's going to happen again. That person treated me badly. They will do it again, right? We have all these assumptions that we don't necessarily recognize, but they affect how you show up because of what you think is going to happen. Identities. I am someone who. So these, sometimes they serve you. I am someone who is good with finances and helps the department. That helps. I am someone who is very organized. That's a good one. But what if I thought, I'm someone who struggles to meet deadlines? I'm someone who is uncomfortable in social situations. I'm someone who can't, whatever. If you have that identity, I am someone who, it limits you and prevents you from doing things that you otherwise could do. And if you recognize that identity and start to really dig into like, where did I get that idea? Where did that come from? What evidence do I have that's true? What evidence do I have that that's not true? Well, who do I want to be? You can start telling yourself different identities and take those on and change the experience of your life. Limiting beliefs. I can't because it wouldn't be right because something is wasteful. People like me are disadvantaged, whatever, all kinds of beliefs. These might be things that you took on from others. Your parents told you these things, your teachers told you these things, and you believed it and stuck it in your identity pack, right? Or they could be things that you have come to believe about yourself over time. But they can hold you back. So for example, a lot of people struggle with self-care and making time for themselves and doing something that's relaxing, or they feel guilty if they're relaxing. I sat down and read a book. And the reason they can't is because it's like, well, I can't because the housework isn't done. I can't because the kids need help with their homework. I can't because whatever. And what happens then is you're taking care of everybody else. You're not taking care of yourself. And so then thinking about what does that cause? And, then I'm so burnt out and so whatever that I can't actually show up for my kids, and right. Or throwing out food is wasteful. Lots of us grew up with that one from our parents, right? Can't throw out food. So you either eat the food on your plate that you didn't really want because you're full, or you're like cleaning up and the kids didn't eat something, so you eat it because you don't want to throw it in the garbage, but you didn't really want it, right? So these kinds of limiting beliefs can lead to results in our lives that we don't want. And if we can unpack what that belief is and where it came from, we can change it. Okay. I hope I've given you at least some things to think about. You may not agree with it all. I don't expect you to. I didn't. It's a journey, right? But hopefully there's at least a couple of things that you're kind of going, maybe. There are some upcoming coaching opportunities. They are voluntary. They're open to members of the department, and I'm open to like broader also. They will be confidential. I have an agreement with Dr. Chakraborty in the department that I will not be reporting or disclosing in any way who comes to these groups, who comes as an individual, what they come to talk about, not talking to their division chief, right? So we're doctors, we understand confidentiality. I want to encourage people to come, and you know, I may have a survey where I will ask what we can, what we can bring back to the department as, overarching things that we learn, but only with explicit permission. So nothing would be shared. I'm going to hold 6 workshops. Remember I told you I procrastinated on getting this thing done. So these are still in the sort of like conception stage. However, I have dates, so they will happen. They may change a little bit. I will be sending out an email with like, here's the dates, here's a better title, here's a little bit of what we're going to do. But what I'm envisioning is these will be more workshop style, small group sessions where I will talk a little bit like I did today about the concept. I anticipate having an exercise that people will do, we'll have a little bit of time right there to do it, and then discuss as a group, maybe a little bit of mini coaching. Always in control about what you share in that. So, if you come and you do the exercise and you're like, yeah, that's true, but I'm not talking about it, that's fine. I'm never going to force anybody to say anything, but hopefully we'll be able to have some conversation that'll help people, have these ideas sink in a little bit more. So obviously the thought cycle, I really like it. There'll be one that has something with that. Values, understanding our values helps us know why certain things feel good and why certain things don't. Because often if you're in a situation where something feels bad, it's rubbing up on one of your values, but you might not really understand that. I did a values assessment for one of my coaches and was shocked because I could have said, these are my top 3, bang, bang, bang. And then I did this big thing and I had to pick 10 and rank them. And I was like, the thing I thought was number 1 is number 9. Isn't that interesting? And the reason I thought it was number 1 is because that whole 80-20 rule, it is what I spend all my time and energy and all of that inner circle fatness on, is when you rub up on that one, I get, and then I was like, wait, if that's value number 9, why am I letting it control my life to that? And I'm ignoring values 1 and 2. Interesting, right? So I still knew what my values were, but I had the priority all wrong until I actually sat down and thought about it. So we're going to do something kind of like that. There's some visioning, ideal image tools that can help people figure out, where do I want to get? What do I want to build? Emotions and processing. We are doctors or healthcare professionals. We are experts at smushing our emotions, right? My patient just died. I have to put that in the can because that one needs me, right? I can't cry in front of my family. I can't be angry right now. I have to deal with whatever. We are so good at putting our emotions and our needs in, I call it the backpack. The backpack follows you around. And unless you go home and you take the thingies out of the backpack and look at them and process them and deal with them, they're going to come back to bite you at some inopportune moment down the road. So we'll talk a little bit about emotions, processing, how to recognize them and deal with them. Core beliefs, identities, and rules. This is some of those like that limiting beliefs. I'm a person who, and believe it or not, you probably have a rule book for your trainees. You have a rule book for your spouse. You have a rule book like, my husband didn't take out the garbage, but he was supposed to. He doesn't love me. My husband didn't do this, that, and the other thing, because you're interpreting things because you have a manual that probably never gave him or her or them, right? They don't know what's in the rule book, but you think that's how they should act, and then it triggers you. And then that whole levels of energy thing, we'll talk a little bit more about that and sort of how do we want to show up. And I'm also having individual coaching packages. So I promised to do at least 12 people, 5 individual sessions, any topic, any area of life. Coaching can help you with work-life balance, taking on a new role, anything you're procrastinating on, making a decision, interpersonal relationships, burnout, conflict, imposers, confidence, imposter syndrome, you name it. You don't have to have something big. It doesn't have to be the same thing for multiple sessions. It can be something that we just discussed in an hour. So the door is open. I will be sending out emails to invite people to indicate that they're interested. And yes, I'm not certified yet, but we are allowed to start coaching and give it a try. My last two thoughts, and then I'm done. There is a reason that the windshield is so much bigger than the rearview mirror, because where you're headed is much more important than what you've left behind. And you can make where you're headed what you want it to be. This picture of the evolution of the butterfly is kind of a metaphor for change. Amazing change is possible in life. It comes with work, sometimes with struggle, but it can be magnificent. I thank you for your attention. I'd be happy to take your questions. I cannot see the chat.
Is there questions in the chat? No.
No questions in the chat. Okay, so people online can raise their hand, people in the room can raise their hand, and we have a microphone because we found out last week that nobody can hear you on Zoom if you don't use the mic. So
Thank you for this amazing presentation. And I'd just like to say how unbelievably brave and courageous and transformative this was. So thank you very much. It looks like our first question is from Dr. Lisa.
Wow, that was just fabulous. That's really life-changing, and congratulations to Pediatric. Funding is already, I would say, transformative. So one of the questions is, what is the most common reason in the physician world for people to get a coach? Because most of us like have a career, have family and friends. Like what is the core of a lot of people? Why do they get coaches? Most of us didn't grow up with, if you have a problem, we're supposed to fix it ourselves.
yeah, absolutely. We are the fixers. Absolutely. Yeah. So I don't like from a statistical, et cetera, I don't know. But a lot of physicians struggle with burnout. A lot of people struggle with stress and it's affecting, their lives. So they can get help with that. Career progression, right? We went to medical school to become a neonatologist, an infectious diseases professional or whatever. They didn't teach us how to be a leader, to take on some of the roles that we want. So people sometimes are feeling stuck or not sure that they want to put themselves out for that. So they might come to deal with that. Transitions. At the end, my identity is a physician. That's all I know. And I'm coming to retirement and I don't feel good about that, or I don't know what to do with myself. So there's things all across the spectrum that people could come to a coach for. Thanks. Okay. Roger?
JoAnn, amazing job and so excited to find out about this. I was curious in some of the papers you presented, it looked like a lot of them had similar programs, where it was like X number of sessions or X number of hours. It seems like something obvious perhaps that the more you do, the better it is. Is there like a, if you get a sense in your experience, is there a minimum number you need to put in to start getting that switch flipped?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So we'll stop using the.
Yeah. So is that,
Okay.
I guess my question is there, I imagine there needs to be a minimum investment, and what's your sense of, not that you're too busy to invest in ourselves, because I think this is a huge, important investment we all need to do, and we would all benefit from it, but I'm just curious if you have a sense of, may not have the 200 hours to become a master, like of course, coach would, but what is a person would benefit from
As a client.
As a client.
Okay.
Yes.
So Roger, sorry guys online, we just heard that the microphone is going into the next room and they don't want to hear our questions. So Roger's question is sort of, how long is the average coaching engagement? How long should somebody expect to need to sign up or work with a coach in order to experience change? I would say from what I'm hearing, people are choosing, 3 months, 6 months, and even a session or two can cause significant change. So none is too little. It depends on kind of what you're wanting to get out of it. It also depends on the person. How deep are those gremlins? How many of those limiting identities and stuff do you have, right? Because some of them, like it's really callous to think, okay, I'm going to identify that I am not whatever, I'm not whatever enough message and just make it go poof away. So sometimes you might have to work on the same thing for multiple sessions, right? So it's really individual. People will sometimes meet every week, sometimes every second week. Executives often do like just 30 minutes every 2 weeks and like bang, 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 fast. If you're really focused and dig in, you can do a lot in a little bit of time. There's a question online.
Yeah. Associated with the sessions.
There will be no fees associated with any of the workshops or the individual coaching. That's part of my like return on investment for the department. What I agreed to offer for the tuition support is that package of things. So absolutely no fee. And there is support from the department that we can do this. Like, no, you cannot cancel your clinic, but we can do it, you know, on non-clinical work time, or I'll be available evenings, weekends, if that's better for somebody.
Just to recognize as well that there are other members of the department who have an interest and have done training or have expertise in coaching. Specifically, I'm thinking of one colleague emerge who does lifestyle medicine coaching. As Nicole alluded to, there's different types or styles of focus that people have. So if you have expertise or certification in coaching and also want to offer your services to your colleagues, JoAnn's part of us offering a particular specialized package for the department. But if it's other folks who, for example, do offer for a fee types of specialized coaching, please just reach out and we're happy to promote those internally as well, because there may be others within the department that have this kind of expertise they'd like to share with colleagues. Thanks, JoAnn.
Yeah. No, that's great, Toby. And I mean, certainly I had no idea what the reception would be today or what the interest would be, et cetera. So that's like the initial offering. And then I'm going to see what happens. And if it turns out to be valuable, then I'll be in negotiations with Toby and Lindy about, you know, how do we broaden this out and offer it on an ongoing basis? How do we offer it broader than the Department of Peds, right? So this is where we start. I don't know your name, but go ahead. Yep.
My name is JoAnn. Thank you for the presentation. I think we've seen coaching come up, there's marriage coaching, weight loss coaching, research coaching. And what you're offering is very good. I'm like, oh, I do it as well, but then I also don't want extra work on the side. But are you finding yourself looking at extra literature if someone, let's say, wants transition coaching to from being like a mom and now a physician and wearing all these hats and transitioning to, let's say, a program director? Are you finding yourself like going back to read about what happens when you're a program director? What happens when you're in retirement? I find yourself having to do extra other work.
Okay. So I think the question is, as a coach, am I finding myself needing to do extra work or research to understand the situations that people are in, like transition or becoming a program director, if I've never done that myself? Okay. So, and the answer is no. So the beauty of coaching is really the coach is not an expert. One of our lead trainers made the point of saying he coaches strictly executives, C-suite executives. He's never been one. Didn't work in corporate even. So that's a little like out there, but the important thing is helping the person figure out what's in their way. They know what job they want. They know what's involved in the job, what's holding them back and what's in the way. So I don't really need to understand the intricacies. I don't have children, but I can still coach people on challenges that they're having with their children, because it's really, how is it affecting you? Many, many, many coaches, as you said, have niches. So, you know, retirement, finances, wellness, whatever. I intend to have one down the road. And then they kind of will have a package of things that they offer on the side, but that's a choice.
Two questions. We've got two questions online, JoAnn,
Okay.
if you're able to find the hands, and then we'll stop in the interest of time.
If I stop sharing.
Yeah,
maybe I'll
maybe
be able to
stop
see it.
share and see if you're able to see who's got their hands up there. These two.
Oh, two hands. Okay,
Yeah.
Heather.
Okay, so I can read it out to you. Thanks so much, JoAnn. That was really excellent. One thing that struck me, you did provide a lot of amazing literature from the U.S. colleges that backed it up. So I wondered, did those high-profile universities like Duke and Mayo Clinic and stuff, do you think they designed and implemented their coaching studies because their physicians were burning out, and that it might actually be cheaper to provide coaching to medical staff instead of the money or the productivity loss with stress leave and stuff. So, I mean, you've answered a little bit since I wrote the question, but whether or not those universities or faculties in turn offered some sort of discounted or complimentary coaching, after their studies were published.
Yeah, and I think like that's a great question, Heather. I don't know the answer, but absolutely, like that's kind of part of what I'm thinking is if people who are experiencing stress or potential burnout and those kinds of things have access to coaching in order to find ways to support themselves before it could decrease people's stress leave or people need to leave medicine, et cetera. So I think there is great benefit in catching things early and making change to prevent that progression. Yeah. Melissa, you've got the last question.
Sorry, it's okay. It's 9. I'll send you an email. I don't want to be the last
Okay.
voice.
You don't want to be the last voice. Okay. Well, again, thank you everybody for your kind attention. And I hope that some of you will come to the workshops. And if you see one that you can't come to because of the time, send me an email just so I know that people are interested, because hopefully we'll be doing it again. Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, JoAnn. Thank you.